There are moments after Fajr, quiet, unhurried, wrapped in serenity, when the heart is most open and the soul is most receptive. In those early breaths of the morning, Allah places a doorway to Rizq Barakah and divine ease. The Quran teaches us that provisions are not only found through effort, but through alignment of the heart with its creator. When you begin your day by reciting the words of Allah, especially in these sacred minutes after Fajr, you are not simply reading, you are surrendering, trusting, and placing your entire day in the hands of the one who controls all affairs. This verse becomes more than sound. It becomes a shield, a lantern, a quiet anchor of certainty. Because rizq does not come from your job, your connections, or your efforts alone. It comes from Al-Razzaq, the one who provides without measure. So when you recite his words at dawn, you invite his promise into your life. You invite barakah not just into your wealth, but into your conversations, your opportunities, your energy, your home, and even your heart. And when Allah places barakah in something, no matter how small, it grows, and it brings a peace the world cannot manufacture. If you want your day to unfold with purpose, your sustenance to be enough, and your blessings to carry meaning, then begin at the source. Begin with his words, right after Fajr, when the sky is still soft and the angels are witnessing. That is where your rizq begins. The moments after Fajr are filled with divine tranquility and spiritual openness in a way that cannot be replicated at any other time of the day. It is the hour when the world is still quiet, when distractions have not yet scattered the mind, and when the heart is soft enough to truly listen. In these early minutes, Allah invites his servant into a space where clarity becomes easier, burdens feel lighter, and the soul finds a kind of stillness that the rest of the day fails to offer. There is something profoundly sacred about watching the night surrender to the first light, because in that transist light, something inside you awakens too. The angels witness your worship at this time, your du'as rise with a different purity, and your recitation carries a weight that reaches deeper than usual. You are not just awake, you are spiritually alive. When a person recites Quran after Fajr, their heart becomes anchored before the world pulls them in different direction. Allah places into their day a stability that others chase through productivity hacks, self-help routines, or frantic planning. But the believer finds it simply by returning to the words of the one who wrote their story. The Quran in the early morning is not merely information. It is nourishment. It is the first sip of water to a thirsty soul. When you speak the words of Allah at dawn, you are not just reciting, you are drawing closer, healing, and opening yourself to the unseen help that accompanies sincerity. The verses you recite quietly become protection you do not always notice, protection from anxiety, from missteps, from the heaviness of dunya. Your rizq for the day is written, but your connection to the one who writes, it is strengthened through these moments. There is a hidden blessing in beginning the day with remembrance. It resets your internal compass. Instead of waking up with stress or immediately diving into responsibilities, you begin with surrender. You begin by acknowledging that everything you seek, Rizq Barakah, clarity, solutions, comes from Allah and no one else's solutions. This realization softens the heart and humbles the ego. It teaches you that what truly matters is not how early you rush into your tasks, but how early your heart turns back to Him. And when you give Allah the first minutes of your day, He places blessing in the rest of it. People often wonder why their days feel chaotic, why they feel overwhelmed, or why, even with so much effort, their sustenance feels constrained. But sometimes the answer is simple. They began with everything except Allah. The believer who begins with Quran begins with abundance even before the rizq reaches them. The tranquility of the early morning is not accidental. It is a mercy. Allah designed the world in such a way that these hours carry a spiritual sweetness that softens every worry. Even science acknowledges the clarity of the early morning mind. But faith goes deeper. It is not just about mental shortener. It is about the soul recognizing its source. In these moments, distractions have not yet clouded your heart. The whispers of the nafs are weaker, and because the world is still, you are able to hear the quiet truth you often overlook. Allah is near. Allah is listening. Allah is inviting. When you recite a verse after Fajr, the words settle into you differently. They do not just enter your ears. They enter your life. And this is where barakah begins. Not in the amount of money you earn, but in the peace you carry, the clarity you walk with, the wisdom that guides your choices, and the divine ease that accompanies your efforts. When you give Allah your early morning, He gives you a day that unfolds with purpose instead of chaos. He gives you strength where you expected weakness, openings where you saw dead ends, and blessings where you thought there was nothing. This is the secret of the moments after Fajr. They are not small. They are gateways. Gateways to rizq, to barakah, to serenity, to unseen assistance, and to the quiet realization that everything you seek is already held by the one who watched you rise for Him when the world was asleep. Reciting Quran after Fajr aligns the heart with Allah in a way that transforms the entire direction of your day, your thoy, and even the state of your inner world. When the first light of dawn begins to spread, and you sit with the words of luf, something subtle but profound happens within you. The noise of the world has not yet reached you. The responsibilities of the day have not yet begun to pull at your attention, and your heart is still untouched by the demands of people, tasks, and expectations. In this untouched space, the Quran enters like pure light. It softens what is hardened, clears what is clouded, and straightens what is bent inside you. It gives you a moment to breathe, not with your lungs, but with your soul, and that breath rejuvenates everything that comes after it. When you recite Quran after Fajr, it realigns your priorities in a world that constantly tries to misguide them. You begin your day not by rushing, or planning, or worrying, but by returning to the one who already knows every detail of what your day contains. This alignment grounds. It reminds you that your purpose is bigger than deadlines, that your worth is not measured by productivity, and that your sustenance is not dependent on stress or struggle, but on Allah's mercy and decree. In these early moments, the Quran becomes a mirror showing you your truth, that you are held, guided, and never alone. There is a clarity that descends upon a heart connected to the Quran in the morning, a clarity that cannot be gained through motivational speeches, morning routines, or even hours of planning. It is a clarity that comes from knowing who is controlling your day. It becomes easier to distinguish what deserves your emotional energy and what doesn't. You become more aware of your intentions, more disciplined with your time, and more centered in your decisions. This is not accidental. It is the quiet power of beginning your morning with divine words. The Quran recalibrates the heart the way nothing else can. It removes the fog of confusion, the heaviness of stress, and the anxiety of trying to control outcomes that were never in your power to begin with. Reciting Quran after Fajr also increases focus in a deeply spiritual yet practical way. It is as though the heart, having tasted this early nourishment, becomes more resistant to the distractions that usually derail the day. Your mind becomes steady, not easily moved by irritations, and your heart becomes anchored, not easily shaken by unexpected challenges. What would have overwhelmed you later feels lighter, because you started your day handing your fears, hopes, and responsibilities to Allah. When Allah strengthens your heart, your mind follows. When Allah gives your soul peace, your focus naturally sharpens. You begin to move through the day with intention instead of autopilot. This morning recitation also helps you carry remembrance with you, almost like a fragrance that lingers even when the moment has passed. A heart that starts with Quran continues to return to Allah throughout the day, even in small, silent ways. You find yourself making better choices almost effortlessly, speaking more gently, reacting with more patience, and seeing life with a clearer lens. When your heart starts aligned, it stays aligned far more easily. You walk into your tasks, your interactions, and even your difficulties with a different state of being. You become less scattered, less reactive, and more grounded in what actually matters. The Quran after Fajr is not simply a good habit. It is a spiritual anchor. It protects you from beginning your day. It guards you from beginning in forgetfulness. It lifts you before anything else has a chance to pull you down. And it prepares you in ways you may not fully understand. Maybe by softening the heart you will speak to with kindling. Maybe by shielding you from a test coming in the afternoon. Maybe by opening a door of rizq that you didn't even know was written for you. The Quran after Fajr is not merely recitation. It is preparation. It is protection. It is nourishment. It is divine alignment. And once the heart experiences this alignment, it recognizes that no day feels complete without it, because nothing brings focus, clarity, and peace quite like beginning the morning with the words of the one who created the morning itself. True rizq comes from Allah alone, not from worldly sources or effort alone. This truth is one of the most liberating and transformative understandings a believer can carry in their heart. In a world that constantly tells you your success depends on hustle pressure, connections, and endless striving, it is easy to forget that the one who truly provides is far above all of these means. People may believe their income is tied to a job title, a degree, a boss, or an opportunity. But the deeper reality is that every form of provision, money, peace, time, barakah, love, health, guidance, safety, protection, flows only by Allah's command. It is written, measured, and delivered by the one who controls the heavens and the earth. When a person internalizes this, their heart stops chasing people and starts turning toward the one who holds everything. True rizq does not increase because you work yourself into exhaustion, and it does not decrease because someone tries to block it. Your provision doesn't need permission from anyone to reach you. What is written for you will find you, even if the entire world stands in the way. And what is not written for you will not come, even if the entire world tries to hand it to you. This realization pulls you out of fear and brings you back into trust. It softens the anxiety that whispers that you're not doing enough, not moving fast enough, or not achieving enough. Because you begin to understand that rizq is not a race, it is a decrease, and Allah's decree is never late, never insufficient, and never mistaken. When the heart knows that Allah is the only provider, it also learns to detach from the illusion that effort alone produces results. Islam does not teach laziness. Effort is required, work is honored, striving is rewarded. But effort is not the source, it is merely a vessel. A field produces crops only because rain falls from the sky, and that rain comes from Allah. Your job, your business, your skills, these are means, not the creator of outcomes. And Allah can give through 1,000 paths or close every path except one. He can open doors you never expected, and He can write blessings in places you never looked. He can increase your provision in silent ways, like peace, contentment, barakah, and ease. Things the world doesn't count as wealth, but the soul recognizes as priceless. True rizq is not limited to money. A person can have wealth but no barakah, abundance but no peace, income but no joy. They may earn more yet feel constantly empty. Meanwhile, someone with modest means may live with fullness, gratitude, and tranquility because Allah placed barakah in what they have. This is why the believer understands that rizq is not measured by quantity but by blessing. A small salary can feel spacious when Allah expands it, and a large salary can feel suffocating when Allah removes barakah from it. So when you seek provision, Do not just seek the means. Seek the one who makes the means meaningful. And when you rely on Allah for rizq, your heart becomes free from the desperation that makes people compromise their values, chase worldly approval, or bend themselves to please others. You no longer exhaust yourself trying to please creation because you know that only the Creator writes your provisions. You stop fearing that someone can take away what Allah has written for you. And you stop envying what others have for you because you understand that everyone receives what is perfect for them. This trust produces a peace that effort alone can never give. Your work becomes calmer, your intentions become purer, and your heart becomes lighter. You work, but you no longer worship the work. You strive, but you no longer surrender your peace to the outcome. You tie your camel and then let your heart rest. When the believer understands that true rizq comes from Allah alone, they begin to seek provision not just through effort, but through dua, gratitude, righteousness, charity, sincerity, and turning toward Allah with a soft heart. These are the doors that open unseen blessings. This understanding transforms the way you live. You begin to walk with trust instead of fear, with contentment instead of restlessness, and with a deep knowing that whatever Allah gives you will reach you at the perfect moment, in the perfect amount, and in the perfect way. Because your provider is perfect, and his provision is never less than what your soul needs. The verse becomes a shield and a source of barakah when recited with sincerity, because sincerity transforms words into light, into protection, into a living connection between the servant and the Lord. When a person recites a Quranic verse merely with the tongue, it brings benefit, yes. But when they recite it with a heart that is fully present, humbled, and longing for Allah, the verse begins to work in ways that go beyond what the eye can see. Sincerity turns recitation into a spiritual armor. It turns sound into safeguarding. It turns remembrance into a force that pushes away harm, opens doors of ease, and invites blessings that do not just enter the home, but settle deeply within the soul. The power is not only in the verse itself, though the Quran is perfect, but in the state of the heart that receives it. A sincere heart becomes a vessel strong enough to hold the barakah Allah sends through His words. When you recite with sincerity, your heart stands before Allah unclothed by pretenses, pride, or distraction. You speak not to fulfill a ritual, but to reach out in need, in love, and in trust. And Allah responds to sincerity in ways He does not respond to empty repetition. You feel the verse descend into you, calming the restlessness, lifting the heaviness, and healing the unseen wounds that life leaves behind. Even if you do not fully understand the verse, sincerity allows the Quran to do what it was sent to do: guide, protect, purify, and bless. The recitation becomes a shield not because of volume, length, or eloquence, but because Allah honors the heart that turns to Him with genuine devotion. This shield manifests. Sometimes it shields you from things you never knew were coming. A harm that was diverted, a difficulty that softened, an anxiety that never reached you. At other times, the shield appears as inner resilience. If you handle what once overwhelmed you, you rise from what once broke you, you find yourself calmer in situations that used to shake you. This is protection from Allah. Protection born from the sincerity in your recitation. The Quran strengthens your heart so that life cannot weaken it easily. It places clarity in your mind so confusion does not consume you. It becomes a barrier between you and anything that does not serve your spiritual growth. When Allah protects you through His word, you are protected in the deepest and most comprehensive way. The barakah that flows from sincere recitation is equally profound. Barakah is not simply increase, it is divine presence. It is Allah placing goodness in every corner of your mirror in amounts that surpass logic. You may read a verse for a few seconds, yet Allah places barakah in your entire day. You may recite only one verse, yet it brings calm to your home, ease to your affairs, and light to your heart. This is the power of sincerity. Barakah might appear in your wealth, your relationships, your decisions, your time, or your emotional strength. It might appear as unexpected opportunities, gentle guidance, moments of clarity, or peace that settles in your chest despite the storms around you. When you recite sincerely, the verse becomes a seed of barakah that Allah grows for you in ways you could never imagine. Sincerity also transforms your relationship with the Quran. You begin to recite not because you are told to, but because your heart craves it. You feel the difference between mechanical reading and heartfelt recitation. You start to understand that each ayah is a conversation Allah begins with you, an invitation to draw near. And in responding sincerely, you begin to feel the Quran living inside you, not just on your tongue, but in your choices, your character, your reaction, and the way you walk through the world. You carry the verse like a shield around you and a lantern within you. And Allah, in His mercy, never lets sincerity go unanswered. A sincere recitation may change your day, your outlook, your circumstances, or even your destiny. It becomes a shield that guards you not only from worldly harm, but from spiritual harm, doubt, despair, anger, envy, weakness. It becomes a source of barakah that colors your life with quiet goodness. A verse recited sincerely is never just recited. It is planted, it is absorbed, it is answered. And its effects reach far beyond the moment your tongue falls silent, because Allah preserves and multiplies whatever is offered to Him with a sincere heart. Barakah affects all areas of life, wealth, time, energy, opportunities, and emotional peace. This is what makes barakah one of the most beautiful and sought after gifts from Allah. It is not limited, not confined on Allah, and not dependent on the size of what you possess. Barakah is divine nourishment, divine expansion, divine blessing. It is the unseen hand of Allah that makes the little feel abundant and the abundant feel light. You can have a small amount of something, yet with barakah it becomes enough, fulfilling, and even overflowing. Or you can have a large amount of something, yet without barakah it slips through your fingers, leaving you feeling restless, drained, and unsatisfied. That is why barakah is more valuable than numbers, more precious than quantity, and more powerful than effort alone. It is Allah placing His goodness into the fabric of your life. When barakah enters your wealth, its effect is profound. You may earn the same amount as someone else, yet your heart feels calmer, your spending feels wiser, and your provisions seem to stretch in ways you cannot logically explain. Your financial decisions become guided, your money is protected from waste, and your heart remains content. Barakah prevents wealth from becoming a burden or a source of anxiety. Instead, it becomes a tool of gratitude, a means of charity, and a source of stability. Without barakah, even large incomes can feel tight, stressful, and draining. But with barakah, you experience gratitude instead of greed, expansion instead of fear, and sufficiency instead of lack. It is not how much you have. It is how Allah blesses what you have. Barakah in time is one of the greatest gifts in our fast-paced world. Many people have long hours, strict schedules, and endless responsibilities, yet they still feel like they are constantly running out of time. Days feel rushed, weeks disappear, and hearts feel overwhelmed. But when Allah places barakah in your time, everything becomes balanced. You accomplish more with less effort. You feel present instead of frantic. You find moments for worship, rest, and self-reflection without feeling pulled apart. Time begins to feel spacious even if the hours are the same, because Allah expands its effectiveness. Barakah allows you to do what truly matters and protects you from wasting your energy on what does not. It is a quiet miracle that only the heart can truly measure. Barakah in energy is another blessing the eye cannot see, but the soul deeply feels. There are days when you get enough sleep, yet feel exhausted, and other days when limited rest still leaves you feeling capable, motivated, and steady. This is Barakah. It gives you emotional strength when you should feel weak, clarity when you should feel confused, and resilience when life tests you. Barakah in energy is Allah supporting you in the unseen, giving you the strength to continue, the patience to endure, and the motivation to rise again. Without Barakah, even simple tasks feel heavy. With Barakah, challenges feel manageable because Allah has strengthened your inner state. Barakah in opportunities means Allah sends the right things at the right time, the right people, the right guidance, the right chances. Sometimes doors open without you even knocking. Sometimes a path becomes clear without you planning for it. Sometimes a small action results in a great outcome. These are signs of Barakah. When Allah places Barakah in your opportunity, what was meant for you reaches you effortlessly. You don't have to chase, force, or exhaust yourself. Allah steers your life toward goodness in ways you could never orchestrate on your own. He protects you from opportunities that would harm you and draws you toward those that will uplift you. And Barakah in emotional peace is perhaps the most precious of all. It is the type of peace that does not require perfect circumstances. It flows from Allah into your heart even when life is imperfect. Barakah brings a calmness that protects you from overthinking, a steadiness that guards you from panic, and a softness that keeps your heart from hardening. You begin to navigate life with trust instead of fear, gratitude instead of dissatisfaction, and serenity instead of chaos. Emotional peace is not the absence of pain, but the presence of Allah in your heart. And that is Barakah at its finest. When Allah places Barakah in your life, everything becomes easier, lighter, clearer, and more meaningful. You begin to realize that success is not in having more. It is in having what Allah blesses. And that blessing can transform every corner of your life, turning ordinary days into moments of grace and ordinary efforts into pathways of extraordinary goodness. Beginning the day with Allah's words invites ease, guidance, and abundant provision because the heart that starts with remembrance begins the day already connected to its source. Before the world speaks to you, before responsibilities weigh on your shoulders, before your mind becomes crowded with plans and problems, you choose to listen to Allah, and that choice shapes everything that follows. The first moments of your day set the emotional, spiritual, and mental tone for all the hours ahead. When those first moments are filled with Quran, the entire day becomes infused with a kind of clarity and calmness that cannot be produced by anything else. You begin grounded instead of scattered, guided instead of confused, strengthened instead of overwhelmed. Beginning with Allah's words invites ease because the Quran softens the heart, clears the mind, and lifts the weight you often carry without even noticing. Sometimes you wake up with unspoken worries, fears about the future, sadness from the past, stress about responsibilities. But when you recite even a few verses, the Quran dissolves the heaviness piece by piece. It reminds you that you are not alone, that you are supported, that Allah is already aware of what is ahead of you. Ease does not necessarily mean a day free of challenges. It means you are given the strength to face those challenges without feeling crushed by them. The Quran realigns your inner world, which makes your outer world feel lighter. You begin to walk into your day with a quiet steadiness, a belief that whatever comes is manageable because Allah is with you. Beginning the day with Allah's words also brings guidance, a kind of subtle direction that shapes your choices, your thoughts, and your responses. The Quran is not only guidance in theory, it is guidance in motion. When you recite it in the early morning, its meanings follow you throughout the day. You may remember an ayah when you're angry, and it softens you. You may recall a verse when you're tempted, and it protects you. You may think of Allah's promises when you feel discouraged, and it lifts you. This is the unseen guidance that flows from starting your morning with divine words. The Quran becomes like a lamp that illuminates your path from within. Your decisions become clearer, your priorities become purer, and your intentions become more sincere. You start to notice what matters and what doesn't. You begin to act with wisdom that comes not from you, but through you. The provision that follows a Quran-filled morning is not limited to money. It comes in forms the heart recognizes instantly. Abundant provision can appear as mental clarity, emotional stability, opportunities arranged by Allah, people sent to support you, solutions unfolding at the right time, or doors opening without your effort. Allah's words invite abundant provision because the Quran softens your heart toward Him, and rizq flows easiest to the hearts that lean on their Lord. When you start your day with Quran, you begin your day with trust. The trust that Allah is Al-Razak, the giver, the sustainer, the one who provides in ways you could never plan. This trust itself attracts blessing. You no longer chase provision with panic. You seek it with dignity, with calmness, with tawakkul. And provision comes to you not only faster, but cleaner, gentler, and filled with barakah. Beginning your morning with the words of Allah transforms how you move through the world. You become less reactive and more reflective. You become less worried and more hopeful. You become less dependent on people and more dependent on Allah. The Quran becomes the anchor that steadies you, the compass that directs you, the shield that guards you, and the nourishment that carries you. It is like pouring light into your chest before the day tries to pour stress into your mind. The believer who starts with Quran feels the difference immediately. The day feels smoother, the heart feels calmer, and the mind feels clearer. Even the challenges feel different because you started with strength. Beginning the day with Allah's words is not a small act. It is an act that reorders your world. It pulls barakah toward you, pushes harm away from you, and prepares your soul to walk through the day with grace. It is the secret to a day lived with purpose, with clarity, with abundance, and with Allah's gentle ease wrapped around every step you take.